What is a social media campaign strategy? If that's your question, you are in the right place. What I'm going to share with you is pure gold, so stay with me. What are we going to cover in this video? It's what you say on social media, how you say it, where you say it, when you say it. We're going to cover all of that, so stay tuned. Doing a social media campaign well starts with your content. Now, let's assume that you are a political candidate or someone working for a political candidate. What are the 5 basic things that you need to communicate about your campaign to people on social media? Well, answer a question that interests them like this. What are you going to do for them? What wrongs are you going to right? What programs are you going to implement that will improve their quality of life? Is there an injustice in your jurisdiction that you are going to correct? Tell them what they get by voting for you. Number 2, they're going to want to know something about your values and your moral code. They're going to want to know that you share their values, that you are concerned about the same things, what makes you tick, those guardrails that guide the way you make decisions, so that is a piece of your content. They're going to want to know that you're qualified to do the job, so tell them a little bit about the responsibilities that you've held. Maybe you've raised a family, maybe you've owned a business, maybe you've done well at the work you've done, but tell people enough about your background that they know that you're capable of doing the job. Item number 4, do you have a story to tell about a time in your life when something happened that made you passionate about fixing a problem that's relevant to voters? Do you have a time in your life where you could talk about the struggles you endured and what you learned from it? That's a campaign story. And when you tell a good story to voters, what happens is they identify with what you went through and they look at your passion for fixing a problem, and that establishes trust. Trust that they believe that when they're not looking, you will still do the right thing when you have the power to do it. The 5th component of your content is what makes you better than your opponent, what makes you better than the other people who are running for the office that you seek. Why you, not them? Step number 2, after you've created your content, is to create a content calendar. Something that you are going to do each and every day over the next 30 days, and then you do it again and you do it again, so that you have pre-planned what you're going to put on social media each and every day. Now, why do you do that? Well, let's say you're going to do a series of videos over the course of a month, maybe 15, 20, 30, 40-second videos, which you're going to talk to the camera or elaborate on a problem. You don't want to interrupt your day each and every day recording just one video. Script them out, practice them, rehearse them, and do all of the videos on one morning of the month so that you have created your evergreen video content for the entire month. And then the other 29 days in that month, you can go do something else, like be a good candidate. So as you put this content together, organize it appropriately. If you're just beginning your campaign, that's a good time to talk about what you're going to do for people. And in the 2nd month, maybe fill in the blanks about your moral code and your biography. In a month thereafter, some other topic that you've scripted. Now, video content is not the only stuff you can post. If you read newspapers, almost every day, newspapers publish stories about a problem going on in your community. You're allowed to repost that article and offer some sort of commentary on how you would fix it, or the crime that was committed and how this is a great injustice in your community and goes against your grain and your values that this is allowed to happen. Any day you pick up a paper, the chances are there are at least 3 stories on the front page about a problem that is worth commentary, and an excuse for you to state your position or express your values. In addition, you can use still pictures with graphics on the picture that are catchy, that are interesting, that trigger emotions to also fill in your content. Now, my larger point here is don't post a video on your first day of the campaign and then don't do anything for the next 30 days. That is a dead Facebook page, and if someone goes to it and they see your last post was a month ago, they're going to think your campaign is dead. So once you start, keep it up, do it every single day. Now, we're going to do a little deeper dive into some of the particulars of what I just said. I'm working with a candidate running for governor somewhere whose very first hire was a talented videographer. You're going to need to talk to the camera. Get over it and get used to it. It is not hard to do if you believe what you are saying. And if you're passionate about fixing a problem in your community, your passion is going to show. So they need to be able to capture you on camera with the right kind of lighting. They need to be able to go with you to certain different locations on occasion so that you can talk to the camera in a different area or near a forest or a park or in a business part of town. They need to be a pretty good editor, and they need to capture the essence of you. Oh, and by the way, if you are thinking of running for office, I wrote a book last fall that you might find very useful. It's called 12 Essential Steps to Preparing for a Political Campaign. It's in the link below. Go grab a copy of it. I mentioned candidates who use pictures with captions that are edgy and provocative, and that they post those on social media with this pithy picture and pithy graphics and pithy words, and then they write some content for a post. I'm going to give you two examples of that, one done by a conservative candidate for the U.S. Senate and one done by a Democratic candidate for Congress. The fellow running as a conservative in a Republican primary, I think the state was Iowa, was sick and tired of people criticizing devout Christians in the public square, so he had his photographer take a picture of him holding a Bible. And this was the caption: "I'm tired of being called a bigot because I read the Bible and believe what's in it." Anybody who saw that post with that caption, number one, knew he meant what he said. And if they were a conservative Christian, they pretty easily figured out that that guy was on their side. That is an example of good graphic content. Now, I mentioned I saw one recently done by a Democratic candidate for Congress. This guy happened to be a military veteran, and he was looking directly at the camera, and the caption graphics was, "I took an oath to the Constitution, not a dictator." Any Democrat in this Democrat primary where he's running who looks at that knows exactly where he stands on his oath to the Constitution. And I know that ad resonated by those who saw it because it got a lot of likes and it got a lot of shares. And I could see that just by looking at his Facebook page. Those are examples. Now, here is a fun thing to try. If you have access to GPT, go type in a pithy phrase and ask GPT to give you 20 ideas on how to say the same thing with different words. You know what? It will stimulate your imagination. Now, probably half of what it comes up with you won't want to use, but man, I tried that experiment a while back, and I saved hours trying to think of this stuff on my own because GPT gave me ideas I had not thought of. The third thing I'm going to mention here are using news hooks to create content for your social media posts. Like I said, every day there are stories in the newspaper, but even if they don't happen in your state or jurisdiction, you have an excuse when there's a story that affects your campaign or a story that affects things that you are passionate about. A good story in a paper is a perfect excuse for you to post something about your biography, something about your values, something about your issue positions. And on days when you can't find anything else to post, it's okay to tell people about your personal life. Maybe a picture of you driving a child to school, or a picture of you cuddling with your cat or your puppy, or a picture of you on a long walk down a country road, just enjoying the morning fresh air. It makes you a human being, and it's a perfectly good way to use social media post. Now, if you want to know even more, there is a video in the link below. It's called How to Use Social Media in Political Campaigns. I do an even deeper dive into some of the stuff that's useful for you, so go take a look at it. Grab a pen so you can take some notes.